As the cost of developing AAA games approaches nine-figure territory, publishers are hesitant to take risks on niche markets. Few genres demonstrate this more than driving and racing games. The racing bubble of the early 2000s has come and gone, and fans are left with only a few franchises producing series that seem more interested in iteration than innovation. While publishers' apprehension about the financial risk of racing titles is understandable, it's also indicative of a depressing shift away from the diversity we enjoyed in the 90s and noughties. And when it comes to diversity, one franchise rules them all. Starting with Need for Speed 2 in 1997, the series saw nearly annual releases, skipping 2001 to prepare for the new generation of consoles. The resulting string of games encompassed a variety of different themes, racing disciplines, and gameplay styles, peaking in 2005 with the series' crown jewel. In a market flooded with racers, each of these titles is a financial risk for Electronic Arts. But perhaps EA's biggest risk of all came in their off year, when they acquired a little studio called Black Box Games. In a move that can only be described as ballsy, EA put their newly acquired studio in charge of the most lucrative version of Need for Speed 6. By the time the now renamed EA Black Box began work on Hot Pursuit 2, the Big Three had already released their contenders for the 6th generation console war, with the PlayStation 2 rocketing ahead in sales, selling almost 6 times as many units as the closest competitor. Naturally, most developers focused their efforts on the PS2, and EA's decision to remove control of the sales leader's version from their established in-house studios is puzzling at best. Prior to 2002, Black Box's development history consisted of 3 NHL games and a single NASCAR title for the original PlayStation, hardly a veteran studio. EA were setting themselves up for a franchise suicide, but nobody could have predicted that handing the reins to the unproven talent would end up leading the franchise to greatness.
27.
EA didn't acquire Black Box until June of 2002, a mere 4 months before Hot Pursuit 2's release date. EA Seattle had already finished most of the game's core content, and Black Box's version retained the concept, structure, and most assets. But that was where the similarities ended. Discussions about Hot Pursuit 2 online are always interesting because most people don't even realize that there were 2 completely different versions of the game. It seems the confusion was pervasive back in 2002 and 2003 as well, with PS2 owners praising the game, while the others received mixed to negative responses. EA Seattle's version had a floaty, fixed handling model, while Black Box let players choose between classic, arcadey physics and simulation, much like NFS 2 back in 1997. Tracks were mostly the same in layout and theme, but the PS2 featured more colorful tracks filled with unique details, like a forest fire and coastal parklands complete with fire trucks the player must avoid if they want to take the faster fork in the track. While the event tree layouts were different, the idea was largely the same. While lower fidelity than the Xbox's high-resolution 480p output, Black Box's attention to detail and special lighting effects made the PS2 version much more exciting to look at.
County. I've got him again. Commencing pursuit.
The main draw of Need for Speed 6 is right there in the tagline, Police Pursuits. Police have been a mainstay since the first Need for Speed back in 1994, and they were the primary draw of Hot Pursuit and High Stakes. After their dumbed-down appearance in Porsche Unleashed, cops were back with a vengeance for the series' next-generation debut. Like before, police employed the use of roadblocks and spike strips to stop speeding players. Hot Pursuit 2 saw helicopters added into the mix, rather cartoonishly dropping explosive barrels onto the track, and the PS2 version firing heat-seeking missiles at the player. In my opinion, the helicopter is stupidly overpowered in the PlayStation version, since the explosives not only knock you off track, but they also disable your engine until you slow down to at 20 miles an hour. The missiles are also ridiculously fast with no good way to avoid them. I got pretty tired of it the second time and knocked me into second place on the last lap of a 20-minute race. Frustration aside, these police pursuits are where we start to see Black Box's potential shine through. Potential that would bloom into the series' bestseller 3 years later. The first hints of Most Wanted's famous pursuit system showed up in Hot Pursuit 2, as Black Box's version of the game was the first time players could disable police vehicles by crashing into them. Hot Pursuit 2 once again lets the player experience the other side of the law, with the mode now being called You Are the Cop. And this mode adds the series' first boost mechanic. Only available for police cars, clicking the right stick gives you a nitrous-esque speed boost complete with exhaust flames. Sound familiar? Hot Pursuit 2 has a certain aesthetic to it that I really like. The game marked the first time EA used licensed music in place of an original soundtrack, and save for a couple of rap rock songs, it's aged pretty well. I still listen to tracks like Pulse Ultra's Build Your Cages in my car sometimes. I feel as if the soundtrack is an important part of the Hot Pursuit 2 experience, but it is a little short, so I've compiled a playlist including the best of the original soundtrack, plus some more songs I found aesthetically congruent with the game, including some music from later titles in the franchise. You can find it on my Spotify. We focus on luxury grand touring cars, beautiful exotic landscapes, and polished alternative rock music meshes together to give the game a unique feeling, something that the franchise has continually proved it was good at doing. To this day, I have an infallible love for the Mercedes CLK GTR and the Lamborghini Murcielago, specifically in bright yellow. I want to own an E39 BMW M5 when doing so makes more sense for me, and I hope to just see a Z8 in person one day. I maintain that video games are responsible for making me the car enthusiast I am today, and there's something incredible about a developer's ability to make someone fall in love with a car they've never seen in real life. Truth be told, neither version of Hot Pursuit 2 is perfect, nor do they come anywhere near the heights of Underground 2 or Most Wanted. That being said, both are fantastic titles deserving a spot on any collector's shelf. Personally, if I was to sit down for an afternoon and play one of these games, I'd go with Black Box's version. The handling and sense of speed are so much more satisfying, and EA Seattle's games feels clunky in comparison. Black Box's take on EA's flagship racer was a resounding success. The PlayStation 2 version sold over 2 million copies, more than EA Seattle's console versions combined. It seems EA's gamble had paid off, and all the improvements Black Box devised have been finished in just a few short months. Naturally, Black Box was thrown the keys to the franchise, and we saw the full brunt of their abilities the very next year, when they took us underground. But that's a story for another day. It's been about 11 months since my last full-length upload to this channel, coincidentally my video about the first Hot Pursuit game. The last year of my life has been the best yet. I've made the best friends of my life, gotten my first apartment, gotten a job where I get to run video game tournaments, I've changed majors, and I fell in love. It's been full of change, full of new people, full of new responsibilities, and above all else, it's simply been full. I'm the happiest I've ever been, but I'd be lying if I said I've done right by this channel. Sometime between last November and February, YouTube's algorithm decided that I had something special with my Half-Life 2 Xbox video, and I was very graciously gifted over 100,000 views and 1,100 subscribers. I want to take a minute to thank each and every one of you that subscribed, and I want to apologize for my extended absence. Next week marks my last week at one of my 2 jobs, and I'll have a lot more time and energy to pursue passion projects, including stuff for this channel. I've been streaming when I play games and I'm not necessarily filming for the channel, and I'm also working on a lot of really cool things I think you guys will enjoy. I'm hoping that my window between uploads will shrink back to the 1 to 2 weeks it once was. Thanks for coming along for the ride, and I expect to hear from you again very soon.